Hello, welcome to Staring Into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach, and I've just discovered a cute little fox that is telepathically talking to me. And with me, as always, is Matt Brandenburg.
Oh, cute little foxes that can talk to you telepathically. Always a good time.
And Vitlam Mist.
I envy you. You know, Icelandic foxes are super scared. We just normally never see them. They're scared of us. It's just as soon as they hear people, they'll just skittle off.
Oh my gosh.
Scared of you?
Because it's the only, the only biggest predator, so to speak, on Iceland. And, you know, when they don't have that much prey, and when we're bigger, and when we started settling here, they were like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm just going to lay in a hole.
Understandable. Today, we are going to be discussing the novella Undead Folk by Katherine Silva, which is book one of a trilogy. Because two more, and then she recently just released Vulpine Curse, which is like a prequel to the first book.
Yeah, but like a prequel spin-off.
I've only been able to read Undead Folk so far. I know you're a lot further along, Vitlame.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, this is a really fun, like, post-apocalyptic horror revenge story.
Yeah, but it also dwells heavily onto grief.
It does a lot with grief. It does some really interesting things, and I'm curious to see where it goes. But I will say to our audience, check it out. It has a really beautiful cover. If covers are a sell, these books all have fantastic covers.
Yeah.
And it is a really powerful book about grief and the cycles of violence we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
And before we get into deeper, I think it'll be good to go down a weekly roundup of some of our stuff. I know it's been a couple weeks since we last met. I kind of forget a lot some of the stuff I've consumed, but
yeah,
it's been a lot. That being said, I will give my one super nerdy recommendation out of the way. And that is, I might have found a new favorite video game, at least in my favorites list.
Oh, yeah?
And it is Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Oh, I've been hearing really good stuff about it.
So I've been following this game since they announced it, because like as soon as I saw the announcement trailer and just the combat looked like the stylized combat from the Persona games with the vibe of like Final Fantasy X, I was like, I'm sold. Like, don't even give me any more. I'm sold, you know? The game's incredible. It is one of the best RPGs I've played in a very long time. That's not like as dense as like Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 3 is in its own lane. But for like Japanese-inspired RPG that's a bit more streamlined than, say, the Baldur's Gate games and a lot more narrative-focused, this is one of the best gaming narratives I've played in a long time. The premise is you play as a group of people who are on the 33rd expedition, or Expedition 33, and in the world of this game, about 77 years ago, this entity appeared called the Paintress. And with the Paintress came this big monolith. And every year, she paints a number on the monolith. And everybody older than that number dies.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
And every year the number goes down and down and down and down. And every year they send an expedition out to try to stop it. And every expedition has failed so far. And now you're the 33rd expedition, meaning no one older than 33 years old is alive anymore.
Oh, wow.
Your group of people are pretty much the oldest people that exist in this world. And that they are kind of running out of chances to stop this Paintress. And it is such a compelling narrative that is shocking, surprising, full of empathy and character development, full of grief and death and sadness, but also some really great moments of humor. It's just like it encapsulates everything that made like the PS2 era of Japanese-inspired RPGs to be so memorable. And it captures that and modernizes it in what I think is the best way possible.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And like the battle is your turn-based battle system, but the main difference is similar again to the old school, like more PS2, PS1 era RPGs. No character is a jack of all trades. Like I think when we play games now, we can kind of customize our characters, but they can be kind of jack of all trades, essentially. You can make your characters great at everything.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, each character has a specific play style in combat, and each character has a specific set of skills. And as a player, you need to think about which characters will complement each other the best and how you're trying to play the game. When you take a turn, the game gives you the order of turns and the order of enemies' turns, so how many turns you have before the enemy goes, blah, blah, blah. When the enemy attacks you, you have the ability to either dodge or parry. And you need to learn how to dodge or parry, because if you don't, you're not going to survive this game. Like there's bosses that will just one-shot you if you don't know how to dodge correctly.
Oh, nice.
Like there's been times where like I literally scraped by a boss battle. Like I had like one character left and I was like barely surviving. The game really like tests your skills and tests your limits as it goes on, and it is just fantastic. Plus, it has the voice actress who played Shadowheart.
Jennifer English.
Yeah, Jennifer English. She's one of the main voice actors in the game. It also has Charlie Cox.
Huh.
And they also got Andy Serkis.
Wow.
To do a voice role in it as well. And to top it all off, what I also think makes this game special, it was made by a 30-person studio, or like 33-person studio.
Oh, that's great.
Like the guy who founded the studio used to work for Ubisoft, and he left Ubisoft because he was tired of just making games to make corporate happy. He wanted to make a game that he wanted to play. So he left Ubisoft. He got this group of people together. They're based in France. The game is very French, by the way. But they're based in France, and it's just a small group of people that put this game together of a labor of love. Like, they outsourced a few things. Like, I know the combat animation, a lot of the combat stuff was designed by a Korean studio that they outsourced. And I also know that the composer was somebody they found on SoundCloud. Like, they found this guy on SoundCloud. They loved his work, and they hired him as a composer and got him a whole orchestra. And he did all the compositions for this game and everything.
That is amazing.
So, like, it's a really cool, like, grounds up, like, independent game, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel we should cherish those things more, because we don't get them as much as we used to.
Wait, what was it on, did you say?
It's on everything but Switch.
Okay.
So it's on Xbox, it's on PC, it's on PS5. And if you do play on Xbox or on PC, the game is on Game Pass if you pay for that. But Matt, what about you?
Let's see. Well, I guess if we're sticking on dorkiness, I can say I saw Thunderbolts last week.
Okay.
Oh, but honestly, I heard that one's pretty good, actually.
It is awesome. It is actually
I already
really
know what
good.
the asterisk means. That got spoiled for me.
And what got spoiled for you?
Risk.
Oh yeah. I figured at this point people will know. But no, it's really good. It surprisingly deals with depression and loneliness and regret like extremely well. And like I guess the best comparison would be, I can't remember if we talked about Guardians 3, where what that dealt with regarding like animal cruelty and stuff like that.
That was a movie that's a movie I can't watch.
Yeah, that one's tough, but this one is
It was really good, but it's tough.
Yeah. And this one is not like that. So you're not dealing with, like, obviously you're not dealing with animal cruelty, but what you are seeing is a really good depiction of dealing with depression and loneliness and everything like that. It unexpectedly, I was just like multiple times tearing up because it's just everything in it, like they treat it well. They treat it the way, like, they do it a good job with showing it and how you handle it and what it's like to have it. And the action is great too. So it all around probably one of the better Marvel movies that have come out, like, maybe, I don't want to say ever, but in a very long time. And
Guardians 3 maybe.
Yes, it's Guardians 3 for sure, and probably even a little bit before that. Just so it's really good. It's definitely worth checking out. The only downside that I had was there's a couple characters that you they didn't need to be they would kind of blended into the background, and that, part of the Thunderbolts team, I'll say that, like, they are, you don't really get much story for them besides what you've seen in other movies and stuff like that. So you're kind of like, all right, well, I guess it's good they're there because we're seeing them. But, like, if they weren't in this movie, no one would notice. It's definitely a Florence Pugh movie. It's definitely like Black Widow 2 more than Thunderbolts.
Honestly, yeah, that's probably, I have such Marvel fatigue, but I would honestly just go to see this movie because of Florence Pugh, because I love her so much.
Honestly, I'm the same with Vitlame, but Florence Pugh would be one reason I see this. And, like, I do want to see the Fantastic Four only because I like the Fantastic Four a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm kind of marveled out. I did hear, though, Disney admitted they made a mistake by pumping out so much Marvel content.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that they admitted that.
And that they plan on dialing it back so they can focus on telling good stories again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what you should have been doing.
Yeah. I think I'm probably one of the few people out there that really love the Black Widow movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a really good movie. It was like, it gave her a little bit more character than what she was portrayed in the Avengers. Yeah. But honestly, I just fell in love with Florence Pugh as Yelena. I was like, this character is amazing. Give me more of her.
Florence Pugh played her because she's a really great actress.
She really is.
Yeah.
Like, she's my girl crush. For real.
Then definitely go see this. She is the highlight of the movie, just, and what she does and acts and everything. It's her movie for sure.
I'm going to try to see it this weekend, but Friendship, I think, just came out.
Yeah.
And Clown the Cornfield is out, and I'm like, I can't spend all this money to see these movies.
Yeah, exactly. I have some more, but we can go around.
Yeah, we can go around. Vitlame, what about you?
You probably have already discussed this, but I saw Sinners, and holy fucking crap, this movie is so good. Sinners
is like my favorite movie of the year so far.
It's really good, and I loved the fact that I managed to see like some like parallels. A lot of people are saying like this is like a bad version of From Dusk Till Dawn, and I'm like, I mean, sure, you can say that, but if you don't dig deep enough into the story, then you're not getting as much out of it as I did.
There's a lot more happening in this movie than there is happening in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I love From Dusk Till Dawn. I remember the first time I saw From Dusk Till Dawn, I did not know it was a vampire movie. I was scrolling through the movie channels, and I saw a movie starring George Clooney, and he had the bank lady up as a hostage in their room, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. I'm watching this. Yeah. Next thing I know, they're fighting vampires in a bar called the Titty Twister, and I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah. But there's also like the parallel. Have you both seen the movie?
I haven't yet, but it's fine. I know what happens and everything.
Okay. This is not gonna this might spoil. Okay, I'm not gonna tell the scene, but there is a scene in the movie that made me remember one scene from The Faculty.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought it was kind of fun and then I kind of like went sleuthing on online, and the director, he admitted like, yeah, this was an inspiration from that.
Yeah, no, Ryan Coogler is very open about what his inspirations were for this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I will say the scene when Preacher Boy is like playing.
Yeah.
And you have that big swooping camera shot of everyone dancing, and I won't get too into that, but that was amazing to see in theaters.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that was an incredible scene.
That's the thing that I regret, because I didn't see it in theaters. I saw the movie the Yar did.
Oh yeah.
At when we were in Portugal, so we wanted to watch some movie during the evening, and my dad has this Yar program in Portugal, so we watched this through there. And when I was watching that scene, I was like, oh man, I wish they had seen it in the movies. That would have been phenomenal.
I also one thing I like is the way the movie uses Remick as its villain to also make a critique about
Irish
colonization.
Yeah.
Not even Irish people, just colonization in general, because he comes from a colonized people.
Yeah.
And he even says that in the movie, like when one of the characters is saying grace, and he's like, the people who colonized me taught me those words. They don't mean anything to me, but I still find comfort in them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like he's a colonized person who's using his vampire abilities to colonize other groups of people to help.
To make his family kind of like, to make him feel belonged.
Yeah, to get him like a new culture to like live and thrive in.
Yeah.
And like I thought that was an interesting take on the vampire lore.
Yeah, I agree.
And Michael B. Jordan like was so good as Smoke and Stack.
Yeah, he really showed his versatility there.
Like he was great as. Did you actually hear? He was. I think it was because of the filming of. No, it wasn't the filming. Because of like the press tour of Sinners. Since like Sinners came out and Michael B. Jordan had to do all this like press tour stuff, he was angry because of all the press he had to do. He had to miss Princess Mononoke in IMAX.
Yeah. Like
he was so looking forward to seeing Princess Mononoke in IMAX and he couldn't get there.
That's hilarious.
So that was kind of funny. But no, like Sinners is a really great movie.
Yeah, definitely. If you haven't checked this film out, you should definitely do it. It has really good music. It shows this part of history that is just really fascinating, especially the relationship between Black people and the Chinese. I thought it was amazing.
Yep.
And I thought it was also portrayed really well. Like it was like shown not in a condemning way.
No, it
wasn't patronizing at all. It was just really blunt. Just showed you like this is how they did. This is how it was for these people at the time.
It was that the Black people weren't accepted. The Chinese people were a group of people that could move between white people and Black people.
Yeah,
so they were kind of like the intermediary between like the two different groups, and I think they did a good job portraying a lot of that.
Yeah, but it was also good because it also showed like Chinese people were exploited at that time also.
Yeah.
Also, did you catch the post-credit scene?
Yeah.
Oh, so good. That was such a great post-credit scene.
Yeah, I didn't expect it would be, though. I was like, is there? It's like, it kind of feels like nowadays a lot of films are kind of pushed into, like, we have to have a post-credit scene, you know?
Yeah, because Marvel made it so popular that, like, other places feel like they had to.
But then, like at times, there are places where you're like, was this necessary?
But I think Sinners was a really like I'm happy you enjoyed it because it's definitely one of the better movies I've seen this year.
Yeah, same.
I actually have a book series recommendation that I've recommended before, but I just finished a couple weeks. I think before our last episode, or like we were supposed to record, didn't happen. But I finished Lily by Daniel Barnett.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice.
I've officially finished the first season of the Nightmareland Chronicles. I think season 2 is supposed to start later this year or next year. But have any of you read his books after the first one for Nightmareland? No.
No, I haven't finished. Like I said, I'm such a mood reader that I started, but I feel like I need to be in a certain headspace to finish these books.
Can I say this series, after reading Lily, is a must-read for any horror fan?
Absolutely.
All right.
Lily was like, I think this series is going to work better for people when he releases the omnibus.
Yeah.
He hasn't like officially like fully announced it, but it's something he's working on. He's working on an omnibus of season 1 to put together, and I think if he's able to do that, it will work better as a book than like individual installments. But it's one of those series that kind of starts. I want to say it starts slow because I think the first book is really good, but it's one of those series that you don't really get what it's doing until you get to like books 4, books 5, book 6.
Oh, yeah.
So like 1, 2, 3 is a lot of setup character stuff, and then 4, 5, and 6 is when things really kind of start to pop off. And I would recommend reading it because I literally cried reading book 6. Like I had a message Dan, and I was like, "Fuck you, dude." But no, like it's also kind of funny too because we had Dan on talking about Nightmareland Chronicles years ago when Last of Us Part 2 came out, when it was like you, me, and Mike still.
Yeah.
And The Last of Us, if you've played both those games, you can clearly see the inspiration that kind of goes through the books with The Last of Us. So that's also kind of funny to see. But it's a seriously compelling post-apocalyptic horror story, which is, it pretty much follows a man named John, a woman who he's friendly with named Mariah, and a Hispanic boy who's deaf that they meet named Marcos. And John is trying to make it to Virginia because his daughter is living in Virginia, and he's living in like Washington State. So the book's kind of like them trying to travel to Virginia in this world where darkness has enveloped everything. And if people were dreaming or fall asleep for too long in this world, their nightmares manifest into real living things.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like, we kind of see how this affects everybody in different groups of people as it moves forward. But like in the first book, you don't fully get that. You kind of get, oh, the darkness has come. Oh, these strange things are happening. But by book 3, you're kind of realizing, oh, these manifestations are happening for real. All these things are kind of building up and going on. And it gets really, really moving character-wise as it goes further. So I would highly recommend checking all those books out.
Nice.
And I'm going to pronounce this author's name wrong, but just to get my last book recommendations out of the way, I am currently reading a book called Pilgrim, and it's by Mitchell Luthi, I want to say his name is. I'm trying. It's L-U with like the 2-dot accent above it, T-H-I, so like Luthi.
Yeah.
But it's by Mitchell Luthi, and it is a medieval horror story.
Sweet.
That takes place in the 12th century in Jerusalem. And it follows our main character named Dietmar, who is a German knight who's also part of the Crusades. And he has left his home in Germany and joined the church with what they were doing to escape a tragedy that befell him back in Germany. So he's been living in Jerusalem, and he's been partaking in the Crusades. And you can tell the author did a lot of work to research Jerusalem in that time period to get a lot of stuff down. But as the story continues, Dietmar has to leave Jerusalem with a relic, and he has to deliver this relic to a state in Europe. So him and a crew leave Jerusalem to deliver this relic, and on their journey, they stumble across portals of hell that have opened, and demons are now coming into the world. and it becomes this kind of like, best way to put it is like medieval horror epic meets like Sinbad.
I love it.
And it's like super fucked up, but it's also super fun. Like literally, I just got to the part where they face their first like main demon, and like the demon literally like disembowels people with one swipe and then just swallows them whole. And like, but like you have the like action adventure sense of like Sinbad, but it has this really bleak horror atmosphere that goes around it as well. That works really good. I'm like 25% in, so I can't say too much, other than I'm having a really good time with it. I will say it does start kind of slow to get you into the politics of like Jerusalem of the time period, because it is an important part of the book.
Yeah.
But if you stick with it, it gets to be a lot of fun. Like I'm literally just after they face the first demon, and like it was pretty fucking great. Like the idea too is like the demon talks to them and he's like, I want you to solve a riddle. And if they get the riddle wrong, he just kills them immediately.
Holy crap.
But like no, the book is a lot of fun, and I think Mitchell Luthi does a really good job like putting you in that time period and really kind of making that place feel alive. And I'll have more to report back on. It's a long book. According to my Kindle, I'm on page 167 of 690.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I have quite a bit to go, but I am immensely enjoying it right now.
Oh, that's great.
But what about you, Matt?
Yeah, I can do let's see. I've just finished this week Josh Rountree's Death Aesthetic. This is a short story collection of his, and it is really good. It sort of like the title states, it is all about death. But what's cool is a lot of these stories feel like folk tales and legends, you know, like the legend of like these creatures living in the water, and how they how men take them as wives, and we're seeing the story through a boy that is part of this village, and he's realizing like, oh, obviously he's like, this isn't good, and these people and these creatures are losing like their power, but then through different things helps them out. So you kind of stories like that, or stories. I'm trying to think of all of them. I finished it, but of course now I'm drawing a complete blank. But no, I think overall Josh is a great writer, and these stories just are like, just deal with such neat and interesting things, and really focus on like, I'm gonna say that there's not. I'll first say there might be content warnings in this, but if there's not, should be, because it deals with like abuse and relationships that are not great. You never really see that. You're always kind of getting the aftermath of that, and how people kind of deal with it and deal with that situation. So maybe not a full content warning, but it's at least there where you're kind of like, okay, I'm now mentally prepared for this kind of thing. But it just like, and the stuff he comes up with, like these like, again, like I said, folktale kind of things of like these beings from outer space that come and help a woman kind of overcome her trauma and stuff like that. It's just so neat and interesting, and the way he delivers them, again, you're just like, you're in it, like you don't want to stop as you read the story, and it is definitely worth checking out. I feel like it's fairly new. I picked it up at Ghoulish. I'm just looking at what the date was right now. Okay, it came out last September, so not super new, but definitely worth checking out, especially if you're into that kind of thing. The other one, which I can talk about real quick because I'm not done, and also tying to what Rich was talking about, reading a giant book that deals with some epic kind of stuff. I am reading Jack Vance's Tales of the Dying Earth.
Hell fucking yes.
I knew you'd like that.
Hell fucking yeah. Jack Vance fucking rules.
This is Tales of the Dying Earth are 4 books he wrote back in the 50s or 60s, I think. And
yeah, I think the 50s, closer, yeah.
It's amazing. It's dense. I mean, like, not really dense, but it feels dense because it's 4 books and it just feels like I've been reading it forever. But I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's Earth in the dying days. The sun is gonna go out at any point, and we are seeing the people there on Earth and how they're dealing with it. And it's very not futuristic. I mean, like, these people are
like, it's kind of weirdly sci-fi fantasy, like,
yeah,
it's like this weird alien version of Earth that looks very unfamiliar to us.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's very like that kind of fantasy, other worldly people, like I mean, like, you wouldn't recognize it as Earth, but it is. And yeah. The first book is basically just a bunch of stories, kind of different characters, because there's sort of magic. People have this magical power, and so you're kind of getting this like just snapshots of different places here or on the dying Earth, and it's all, you know, again, like, a lot of people put Jack Vance and this kind of in line with like Michael Moorcock and Tanith Lee, that kind of weird sword and sorcery type of thing. It's not really sword and sorcery, so don't get that in your head, but it's just this kind of weird,
it's more like pulp fantasy, I think.
Yeah, I think
pulp is a better way to describe Vance's work than.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, so definitely think that as you're reading it, and it totally makes sense. Just weird stuff happening, really pulpy kind of things, very of its time.
I love what was it? I think the first book, but the dude who's like growing that weird alien plant garden where, like,
yes,
like that whole story's so fucking weird, but it's a lot of fun.
Weird. And yeah, that one's great. And then at least the next 2 books, because I'm halfway through the 3rd book in this. It deals with this, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, Kugel the Cleverer, and his trials. He basically, in the 2nd book, it starts out with him trying to steal something from a magician. The magician catches him, sends him to this far off land, and so now Kugel, his whole mission is to come back and punish that magician. But through it all, as he's traveling this land, he keeps running into these weird situations that kind of are dire, kind of comical, but he finds a way through it. And you know, like, he's the hero, but he's not a good person. He's kind of this goofy guy that's doing like looking out for himself and tries to trick people, but never ends up fully tricking them.
There's a book out there, I forget the name of it right now, but it's a Dying Earth tribute anthology.
Oh, nice.
And I think it's edited by George R.R. Martin.
Oh, wow.
But it's a bunch of modern fantasy sci-fi authors writing stories in the Dying Earth universe.
That's amazing.
I know Dan Simmons, even though I hate Dan Simmons as a person, Dan Simmons has a story in there. Martin has a story in there. A lot of other people got stories in that one, too. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. So definitely worth checking out. I haven't finished it yet, but it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it.
There's a tabletop game I've been trying to play called Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I told you about Dungeon Crawl Classics, maybe.
No, and I know it. Yeah.
So they released a module last year that's tie-in with Dying Earth. And they have a whole setting based on Jack Vance's Dying Earth.
Oh, that's great.
They have a whole alternate rule set to make it fit within the rules of the magic of the Dying Earth universe. They have campaigns set for the Dying Earth universe. They did the same thing
awesome.
for the Grey Mouser books too, with Fritz Lieber, Grey Mouser stuff. They also have a tie-in with his stuff as well.
Nice.
But I think it's really cool, like that Dying Earth is kind of having a comeback.
Yeah.
I first discovered it, like, I want to say early on in college, I found that Dying Earth tribute anthology. And I was so fascinated, I needed to find more. And I found like the original Dying Earth books. And that's how like I got into Dying Earth, was like way back then. And so I'm happy to see people coming back to it now and realizing how cool Dying Earth is, but also how unique and interesting Dying Earth also is.
Yeah, it's very unique. Yeah, and it's fun. And like besides some little things that I mean like sort of make sense for the world, it still feels very fresh and we're like of now. So
like you can tell Vance just wanted to write fun adventure stories.
Yeah.
And like it really shows to the Dying Earth stories, but like if you describe Dying Earth to people, it sounds like such a grim story, and it kind of is. But none of the stories are really grim.
No.
Like they're more kind of fun and a little bit goofy and a little bit odd and like I don't know, like the tone of what you think Dying Earth is and what Dying Earth actually is are two very different things.
Yeah, exactly. And then the thing that I'm really liking in this third book, and I think is a great lesson for writers, is you can tell he like, I mean, it's right on, I don't know, he wears it on his sleeve of, I'm going to put a very challenging situation in front of my character and see what happens. And then the next chapter is, here's another very challenging situation and I'm going to see how my character reacts. I mean, like, you know, like all books have that, but for whatever reason, this one, it's very like front and center of like, here's the challenge. Let's see how this character deals with it. And so it's kind of fun to
pushes his characters too. Like I think he was a great at that.
So I am gonna have to leave. So I'm going to just say have fun. And yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky, Brandenburg DM, and my website, matt-brandenburg.com.
I love you.
Thank you. You guys have fun.
Have a good one.
See you, Matt.
Bye.
Hi, Matt. Do you have any other recommendations for it, LeMay?
I finished the last season of You.
How was it?
I'm kind of glad that it's over, because not because it's bad, but because I was getting tired of him getting away with everything.
Yeah, I haven't even read the fourth U book because I got tired of Joe always getting away with things in the U books.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I don't like how the show makes you root for Joe.
Oh, in this season, they're hammered down how horrible he is.
Good, because like the books do. Have you read the U books?
Oh yeah. I read all the U books.
I love how the books are very flat out. Joe sucks.
Yes.
But Katniss still gets you to root for him, while still reiterating how horrible of a person that he is. And
that's fun. Is it because you read the books, or have you listened to the audiobooks?
I've read the books.
Okay, because if you listen to the audiobooks, which I have been doing, there is no I can't say that for everyone who has listened to the audiobooks, but whenever I listen to it, the guy who narrates Joe, Santano or something, he is amazing as him, by the way. But every time his words, the words comes out of his mouth, I'm like, I fucking hate you. There's no
Joe,
way in hell I'm ever gonna root for you, and I'm never ever feeling sorry for you.
Oh, I never felt sorry for him either. But sometimes you're like, oh, how's Joe going on this one? And you're like, wait, why am I wondering this question? He fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like the books do this thing where like they get you to like, not, I don't want to say side with him, but like get you invested in his story.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're also like, why am I so invested in this story?
Yeah.
Like I remember the first book, And like, I'll never forget reading the first book, and it was a scene where Beck finds Joe's box of Beck.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was such a creepy moment.
It was, but that moment I was like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah.
Like, well, that was super creepy. But like, was the last season good? Because I stopped watching the show because it started differing a lot from the books.
Season 4 was slow. I didn't really like it as much as I like the other ones. But then this is season 5. I did like the fact like they're going back to where it all started from season 1. So they're going back to New York, which if you would think like you were supposed to be a brilliant mastermind, Joe, why in the God's world would you return to the scene of the crime? The scene of your first crime.
He's got 2 bodies in New York.
Yeah. So, and I just like, why would you go there? And then they also like they purchased the bookstore that I used to work in that has the cage, and I'm like,
oh God,
this is the most stupid thing you could do. Like, even with all the fucking money that you have with your rich wife now, this is not gonna help you in the slightest. And of course, you see that in the movies. Like he like goes from taking such horrible decisions, and you're like, yeah, you're slipping. You're so slipping because you think you are at the top of the world. You think you're gonna get away with everything because you have power now, so to speak. But then it just all starts unraveling when he, has a new fixation on a new girl who basically has all of like. He feels that she accepts all his darkness.
Yeah.
And then the season kind of leads you on into thinking that she might actually be, and I'm like, and I just kept thinking, is this a new Love Quinn? Because she kind of accepted that.
Yeah.
Because she was unhinged as well. But no, then it kind of does a double twist, and then you're like, okay. And he kind of got what he deserved. Like at first, when you were watching the series, you kind of wished that he would like die. Yeah. But then I kept thinking like, no, person like him doesn't deserve to die. He deserves to go to jail for the rest of his life.
Suffer. Yeah.
And that happens finally. Like he gets his comeuppance, and in the most beautiful way possible. I'm not going to spoil it, but I was like, I kept giggling because it was so funny.
You know what? But when talking about you, I've been rewatching Dexter. I'm kind of stopping when I finish season 4 though, because that show goes downhill pretty fast.
The one when he's the stepsister and him start doing stuff.
No, season 4 was with the Trinity Killer, the John Lithgow character. I think him and his stepsister, Deb, foster sister, really start doing stuff in season 6 or 7. And that's
okay.
But someone's been making edits of like Dexter without Dexter's narration. And there's just awkward scenes of like Dexter staring at people. When like in the show it's supposed to be his narration playing, but they took his narration out, so he's just like staring at people. There's this one part where like early on the episode is like he's watching a movie with Rita, his girlfriend at the time, and Rita's crying, and he's just staring at Rita, and there's a monologue about how he doesn't feel human emotions or whatever, but then like they take that monologue out, and it's just Rita crying on the couch, and he's just looking at Rita. And like it's unintentionally really funny. But I have one more show before we get into the book real quick, and I think you'd like this show a bit, LeMay. It's on Netflix, and it's called The Eternaut. The Eternaut.
Oh yeah, my husband, he's been sick all week, so he's been watching that. He finished it, and he recommended it.
It's based on a very famous Argentinian comic that was one of many comics that led to the author getting disappeared by the government. Huh. Which, yes, The Eternaut wasn't the reason that got him disappeared, but The Eternaut was his most famous comic. he got put on a government list after he released a comic about Che Guevara that painted Che in a sympathetic light.
Oh, yeah.
And during the Dirty War in Argentina, he became more left-wing and more political and more outspoken. And so in 1977, while he was working on the Withernot 2, the government disappeared his family one by one, trying to catch him. And then eventually they disappeared him.
Ooh.
But and the Withernot is a deeply political story, but it's fantastic. It's pretty much, it follows a man named Juan Salvo. And Juan Salvo is kind of like your average middle-aged everyman type character. And one day in Buenos Aires, it starts snowing, which is odd for Buenos Aires.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone whose skin touches the snow, they die.
Yeah, it's like a toxic snow thing.
Like a toxic snow. And Juan gets a diving suit made to leave his friend's house to try to find his wife and daughter. And while venturing through this toxic snow-ridden wasteland, he gets involved in different groups trying to fight for their own survival, and also what's causing the snow and what's everything going on behind it. And
it's only 10 episodes, isn't it?
It's 6 episodes. It ends with a cliffhanger, and season 2 has been greenlit.
That's good.
I will say, having read the comic The Withernot, the show only covers maybe a quarter to maybe 40% of the story.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot more that happens after the show hit the episode 6 mark. But even as in a cliffhanger, it's still very much worth watching, because I would love to see the show get to its conclusion, but also the fact that I feel like I'm one of the few Americans who loves the comic The Withernot, because it's a comic that never really got famous outside Argentina. So the fact that we have a show that I could be like, you guys gotta watch this because it's incredible, like, really has me excited.
Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people recommending it on TikTok.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, we should get into Undead Folk.
Yes.
Which it's really funny. So I actually met Katherine Silva last year at the Merrimack Valley Halloween Book Festival.
Okay.
And we talked about ska music.
Of course you did.
Of course you did. That's what I do. And I bought Undead Folk because of the cover. Like, the cover was just so popping. And she had her new one, but I wanted to at least read the first book before I dive into a series, you know?
Yeah.
So I bought the first one. It sat for a while until you mentioned discussing it. And I'm like, oh, I guess I got to read this. I finished this thing in like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't put it down. I mean, it's short. It's only like, 66 pages.
Yeah.
But like, once it gets going, it's so hard to put down.
Yeah. You have to keep going. You just have to follow Janice and Amos's journey.
Yes. And it is such a interesting, like, post-apocalyptic story.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think I might have missed it in the first book, but does she even mention what caused the apocalypse? Or does that get developed in later on?
It's like she drops hints. Like,
yeah,
from
hints
there
where,
there.
like, the people who were the 1% were able to escape the damage that everyone else has to suffer and live with.
Yeah. For me, I feel like this is more like, I think it's for taking capitalism, I think, going awry.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. At least when I'm now reading Nothing Land, which is book 3, and it feels very much that kind of essence to it.
And like, I like how she opens up this book with you just asking a bunch of questions.
Yes.
Because you're just like, okay, what's happening here? Oh, she revived a fox and put someone's spirit in there. Oh, this person is Amos. Who is Amos? Right? Yeah. Like, why is she doing this? Who is Amos? What are these things? She goes to the, I mean, this is a slight spoiler, but she goes to the hospice house, right?
Yeah.
and you're just like, what's the deal with this? Like, what's their connection to this place? And by the end of at least Undead Folk, she does a great job answering those questions with such a great emotional weight to them that made the payoff of these like 66 pages really pop.
Yeah. It's not only that, like Catherine is really great with words. Like this little novella is so well written. It just all the words she uses, she carefully chose them, and it makes such an impact on the reader.
Yeah.
Just just the little things like how she, for example, how she describes this when Janet finds the corpse of the fox. It feels out of interest or like disinterest or just like in a kind of like a surgical way of describing it. But deep inside, you see there is a little bit of emotion to it.
Yeah. No, she does a great job mixing, like, not just mixing, but she does a great job just using language as an emotional weight in the story.
Also, just really like the way she described, like I said, this is a post-apocalyptic story, but like the environments that she, like how she describes the environment in which Janet and Amos are traveling through, I could picture it vividly in my head.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of felt like I was like almost taking a part in their journey. It was really nice.
Oh no, it was super nice.
But I also like the fact, like, and this is why I kind of gravitate towards these kind of post-apocalyptic stories, is where it's not centered around what happened or the threat, like usually if it's a post-apocalyptic story, it's like zombies or something like that. I like it more when it's focused on the characters or, the situation or the journey.
Yeah, no, I think post-apocalyptic stories work best when they're character focused.
Yes.
And like I think like I love The Last of Us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saving my issues with season 2 because I want it to finish, but I also understand my issues with season 2 come from me having played the video game 5 times.
Yeah.
And so, but besides that, people get so caught up in the zombie fungus aspect of The Last of Us, or they get so caught up in the zombie aspect of The Walking Dead, or they get so caught up in like the more paranormal aspects. And to me, as the viewer or reader or player or consumer, that's the least interesting part.
I agree. It's like a lot of people complain that the season 2 of The Walking Dead was the most boring thing ever, but I loved that season. Like they say that nothing was happening. I'm like, are you kidding? Did you not see the interactions between the characters? Did you not feel the tension? Did you not feel like the hopelessness when Daryl was trying to find Sophie?
Yeah.
It's like, how can you say that was the most boring season? It was amazing.
And that's what makes that show work. Or like, even if you get to the more famous scenes, like the scene when Negan plays baseball with Glenn.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm describing it like that because I mean, but like that scene, like I was sitting in my chair clenching my butthole tight, like watching that scene.
I know.
I was so stressed and tense watching it, even though I knew it was going to happen because I read the comics.
Yeah,
I was
same.
still like freaked out watching that scene on TV, and like that's what makes those things memorable, are like the character moments.
Yeah.
I don't go back thinking of The Walking Dead and being like, oh man, that zombie attack was really cool.
Yeah,
like
no.
I think of the really hard-hitting character moments because that's what makes those stories compelling. And this was a side tangent, but going back into Undead Folk, I think that's what also makes this compelling is there's no there is a paranormal element, but that's not the focus.
Yeah.
There's no zombies, there's no monsters, there's no paranormal things attacking our characters. It's just human drama.
Yeah. And the paranormal aspect of it is actually more one of the cogs driving the story forward.
Yeah, it's more she has access to like folk magic and stuff, and she uses that to try to reanimate Amos, which is someone who she cares a lot about, and we find out their relationship as the story kind of continues on.
Yeah.
But because at first I thought Amos was, this is kind of silly, but at first I thought Amos was her husband.
Mm.
And then after it went on, I was like, oh, I was completely wrong with that. But the fact that she hid that information from us as the reader also made that compelling, because I was like, oh, this is how it all plays out, you know?
But this is the best thing, because once you finish the story, you can now see all the clues, all the little hints Katherine put in it. Because like you said, you thought it was her husband. I actually had that kind of thought too. But then when I started reading between the lines and I saw the clues, there's a scene in I think the first, it's actually in the first chapter.
She's holding us. His number one dad?
Yep.
Yeah, I caught that when I opened up the book, the first chapter again.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, it was right in front of me.
Yeah.
Because like at first you just thought it was a mug, you know, but then once you get the relationship down, it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now. Yeah.
I love those little nuggets that you managed to keep like buried between the paragraphs. And I also want to point out that we said that the magic was kind of like a cog pushing the narrative forward.
Yeah.
And it actually becomes much more clear later on in the other books.
I believe it, because you're not going to introduce that element in book one and just leave it by the wayside.
No, exactly.
Like in the other books, if you can give me an example. I'm going to try to get to book two soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see that in book two, I'm not going to spoil too much, but in book two, you kind of get the feeling that magic is more important than you think.
Okay.
And the magic was actually one of the reasons why Janet is the way she is.
Okay, interesting.
And it kind of also connects her to her family. And the situation that escalated into the end of the book one.
Yeah, I got that in the first book, where like she learned that magic from her family, and that there's obviously some connection between her family and the magic that she uses. But
it's gonna get so much wilder though, Rich. You have to actually start reading book two, because this is a story of revenge as well. But like book two puts it into overdrive.
Nice.
It's kind of like it's a good for her revenge story, but also at the same time it also dwells really deep into the grief.
Again, the grief is what makes these stories compelling.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a good post-apocalyptic story without grief, without revenge, without the drive for violence, without the need to survive. Or even if you think of, like, Station 11, like, that's a story that's all about community and how community helps people thrive together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that's, again, what makes these stories stick and what makes these stories work.
Yeah.
But, I'm happy you recommended this one. It gave me an excuse to read it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
No,
I'm like in the middle of I'm almost halfway through Nothingland, and I really love how she's tying everything together.
Because I know book two is another revenge story. I know Nothingland, does it have like an amusement park or something that's involved in the narrative?
Yeah. Like an abandoned amusement park. Like it's a whole like city, or like a whole different, and like sectioned in different communities.
That's interesting.
It's really interesting. I was like, I really like the world she's built in this.
I do too. I'm excited to read more. And like, I definitely need to check out more of her stuff as well, because I never heard of her before I met her at Merrimack Valley. But she's a very nice person, and she's a very good writer.
She is. I finished Oblivion, one story that she has written. And it's like a folk horror. And I enjoyed that too.
For a second, I thought you were talking about Elder Scrolls, and I was like, wait, she's working Elder Scrolls?
No, not that. I think it's an Appalachian folk horror story.
Oh, I love those.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this was definitely a really good pick, LeMay. And I think we should revisit these books. Like, I'm going to read the next two over the next couple weeks, and we can meet and have like a larger discussion on this series.
Yeah, we can. I can check if Katherine wants to come on.
Oh, I'm connected with her too, so I can always ask her as well.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have her on.
Something like that. I like her just going to put this live in front of everybody. Hey, this is our plan. But no, like I think it would be cool to like focus on a whole series, and I'm not trying to be a jerk because it's hard to do series that are because most are super long.
Yeah.
And like all these books are short, and that's a bad thing. It's impressive how much she fits into such a short book.
Yes.
And I think that's
for me
to her talent.
Exactly. That definitely shows her level of talent, because there are so many like, especially with traditional publishing, they just want to pad out the words.
Yeah.
Just to fit a word count, and it's like you don't need to focus on that as long as the story is good. Word count doesn't count. Yeah, like
the book Pilgrim that I'm reading, that's like 690 pages on my Kindle. Like, thankfully, it's just a one-off book. There's no sequel. But also, that's just how he writes. He's very wordy. Like, I know that author is from South Africa, and he just really is verbose with his wording, with his vocabulary. And that style works, but at the same time, a nice lean book that has no fat on it and just goes is hard to find these days.
I agree.
And when you do find them, they're refreshing. They're interesting. They're a breath of fresh air because they're just so different from what we're used to reading. Because we're used to, I talked about this, I had kind of a rant on my Facebook the other day about how writers don't understand nuance anymore, or audiences don't understand nuance anymore. And the fact that the writers treat their audience like they're idiots by spelling everything out
is one
of my least favorite things in modern storytelling.
Yep, I hate that too.
And like, I think Katherine avoids that with such a short book.
Yes.
Because she's trusting the audience.
Yes.
She's trusting the audience to figure it out. She's trusting the audience to stick with it. Like,
it's not only just about trust, it's also just about respect.
Yeah. Like, I want to try, one of my goals this year is I'm going to try to read Brandon Sanderson one final time. And it's probably going to fail. It's probably going to fail because I know how I am as a reader, and I know what I hate. And he does something I hate in every single book.
He over-explains, doesn't it? He just shoves it down your throat.
Well, I remember trying to read
Mistborn?
The Mistborn books, the first Mistborn book.
Yeah.
And it was described to me as like Arthur Lady meets like a fantasy world where evil has won. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's a plot synopsis that gets me interested, right?
Yeah.
And I'm into the book from the beginning. I think the world's cool. I'm there for the characters. Everything's interesting. And then after a few chapters, the plot just stops. And it's an exposition chapter that just explains how the magic system works.
Barf.
Then it's a few more chapters of plot and narrative. And then it's another exposition chapter to kind of go in more detail with the magic system.
Barf.
So, and part of it is he wants the audience not to be confused when it comes to the magic. And he also wants to show us this cool magic system he created, which honestly is really cool. I'm not going to knock it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as a reader, I would prefer for the characters to do the magic thing, have the magic happen, and have me as the reader figure it out.
Yep.
Because I feel if my hand's being held, they don't trust me as a reader.
Yep.
They think I'm stupid. And I'm not stupid. Smart.
Yep.
Smart. I swear I'm smart.
Yeah.
But like, but it's like, I won't spoil this because I know you and your husband are waiting for The Last of Us to finish its second season before you watch it. There's a scene in episode 4 that really pissed me off. And I won't spoil.
Was a lot of hand holding?
The entire scene was exposition. And the entire scene explicitly was expositing what the theme of the story is.
No, come on, guys.
So the audience is aware of what the theme of the story is. And I'm just like, God damn it. Why?
Yeah, I'm probably going to get pissed off at that.
Like, and it sucks too because they had one of my favorite actors in that scene, Jeffrey Wright. And I'm just like, you're wasting Jeffrey Wright. Don't waste Jeffrey Wright. Like,
oh, man.
He's such a good actor. Don't waste him. But it's one of those things where it's like, I think this is something I think is harming modern culture.
Yep.
And this makes me sound like an old man in the clouds. Understanding media and media literacy is at a low these days. Like I've already known it was at a low when, like, okay, at the risk of pissing people off, I don't talk about this all that much. One of my favorite books is The Leda by Vladimir Nabokov. I don't like to tell that to people because half the time I do, people accuse me of being a pedophile or accuse Nabokov of being a pedophile. That is not what The Leda is about. But
wasn't it a commentary on that?
It is a commentary on that. The novel's written from the point of view of a child predator.
Yeah.
It's written from the point of view of Humbert Humbert. And if you read the book, by the end of the book, Humbert Humbert's in jail. Like,
yeah,
Humbert
rightfully
not get
so.
away with what he does.
Yeah,
Humbert destroys people's lives, and by the end of the book, his own life is destroyed from the crimes that he has done.
Yeah.
And that is very clear in the narrative. But a lot of people who haven't read the book just see, oh, the book is about a pedophile, therefore the book is pro-pedophilia.
Okay.
When
I mean, isn't it the same thing about how people think about American Psycho?
It is. And American Psycho is a satire on masculine American culture written by a gay man.
Yeah.
Like...
And also, like, how people wrongfully think about Fight Club or The Wolf of Wall Street, and they don't get the satire or the commentary that these films are blatantly showing you.
Yeah, and it's the same with, like, a lot of these, like, older books too. Is like, people don't understand the commentary that is being put forth in the novels, so a lot of writers are dumbing their stuff down. Yeah. Because they want to make sure that what they're trying to say is clear. Yeah. And that but I feel at the sake of doing that, we're risking telling good, meaningful stories.
We're also risking critical thinking.
We are risking critical thinking. And, like, I think, like, a good book is a book that challenges you.
Yeah.
Like, a good book is a book you're going to go in and disagree probably with the premise of it, but you're still going to go in and read it, and by the end, you might have changed your perception or perspective on something.
Yeah,
but
it's always good to have a lot of questions.
It is, and it's always good for you as the reader to ask questions and have the patience to have those questions answered.
Yeah.
And I feel we are lacking that in a lot of our stuff nowadays in a bad way.
Yeah.
That is actually why something like Undead Folk is refreshing, because while it's such a slim book, she's making us ask questions. She's making us question things. She's not answering things for us very directly. She wants us to think, about what she's trying to say. She wants us to think about the commentary. She wants us to think about how these things come together. And that makes a much more compelling story than, say, like, your hand being held the entire time.
Yeah. It also makes you, like, you have to kind of put yourself into the situation of Janet. Like, if you were put in this situation and you had the power to do so, wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it makes you feel like, you know, she does questionable things. She's a morally gray character, but I feel like at the core, most people are.
Yeah. It's also too, like, at the risk of, like, spoiling things, just to say quickly, when she makes her decision at the end, and the heartbreak Amos has, having realized what's going on and what he's going to watch her do, is devastating.
It hurts so bad.
And that's what makes that scene so powerful, is how devastating it is.
Yeah.
And, like, I think more authors should challenge their readers that way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think more authors should be doing work like that. And, like, I go back to, like, a lot of the newer modern fantasy trends, just because fantasy is, like, the big it genre right now. Like,
you might be confusing it with romantasy, but yeah, go ahead.
No. Regular fantasy is still being big. Romantasy is a whole different beast. Romantasy is like, if you're a woman, no, I'm not saying anything bad about romantasy, but if you're a woman on TikTok, you're getting nothing but romantasy recommendations.
Yep.
Like, romantasy is everywhere. And I think some romantasy can be good. I like cozy fantasy a lot, just with romance.
I agree. Like Legends and Lattes
was a great cozy romance book.
Yeah.
But for instance, like This Is How You Lose the Time War was like I won't say cozy, but like a sci-fi romance book that worked really well at time travel. But a lot of modern fantasy, the authors are so focused on world building over narrative that they're going to hand feed you the themes and the systems and these things about the world because they're so focused on wanting us, the reader, to understand them. Where I think if they were to trust the audience more, we wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's just my 2 cents. I'm just a grumpy man yelling at the sky. What do I know, really, right? But I will say, thank you for picking this book. It was great. And Katherine Silva, you can follow her on social media. This book is book 1 of a trilogy, which the prequel spinoff, Vulpine Curse, just came out.
Yes.
And it's available everywhere. And make sure you read this one and check it out, because Katherine is a fantastic author. And I think more people should definitely read this book.
Yeah, I agree.
And Vitlame, where can listeners get in touch with you?
I'm kind of still lurking on Instagram at Things and Light. And I'm also on Blue Sky at Vitlame at Blue Sky Social. I also have my own website, which is in, again, a desperate need of some renovation, but you can find it at vitlamemistauthor.com. Perfect.
And you can follow me on most socials at Rudy53088 or through my name, Richard Gerlach. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky, and I'm on Facebook. And I'm trying to launch a website soon, too. But you can give me a follow at any of those places. And this is Richard Gerlach saying, keep staring.